Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is the Our Tour Football Podcast. I'm Dana. That's Sonia. Now, Lisa is coming. She had to reset her internet, and her turkey got out. She had to chase it in the woods. You know what? Honest to God, I would keep doing the show forever just to get Lisa stories before we start, which are hilarious now that she lives on this farm. If you guys only knew how stuff that we hear from that. But we are going to go ahead. Oh, look, there she is, just in time. Lisa is here. I was telling them about your turkey.
Oh,
Chasing
chasing
so
turkeys
awesome.
through the woods. She is actually home. She came right out when I knew she would when I came home. She came out and because her mate Eddie was still in the cage. She's not gonna go too far from Eddie.
It cracks me up. I was just telling them that your stories are one of the reasons that I keep doing this every week. So I love it. So welcome everyone. Again, it is the Our Tour Football Podcast. And again, Sonia, Lisa, Dana. We, of course, before we get started, we want to thank our sponsor, Donkey's Place Cheesesteaks. They have been our sponsor for 4 seasons now, and they're the reason that you don't have to look through commercials when you listen to us. So we thank Donkey's so very much for that. You can, of course, go visit them at their 3 locations in New Jersey, in Medford, Mount Holly, and Camden. And they are also available on goldbelly.com. Look up Donkey's Place Cheesesteaks, and they will be delivered directly to your home. They are delicious. I read somewhere that they were Anthony Bourdain's favorite cheesesteaks. I was like, that's awesome. Yeah, so that is very cool. So you guys should check them out for sure. All right, everyone. It was hilarious. Last night I'm watching Monday Night Football, and I don't remember which national reporter said it, if it was even national. I don't remember who said it. Actually, it might have been John Fraley out of Seattle. I can't remember. But anyway, they go, we're starting Monday Night Football. And it's still only week 1 because we have been watching football for a full week. I mean, from Thursday to Monday, right? Like there was football constantly. And there were some fantastic games. There was some not so fantastic games. But it was nice to be back in the groove of football again, I thought anyway. I sat all day Sunday, and it was so fun. I got to live tweet the Seahawks game, even though that is hard. And I want to give Sue, our dear friend Sue, who hangs out with us. She was like, Dana, I'm so proud of you. You're being so neutral. Like, thanks. It was real hard, but it was good. It was super fun. How was football being back for you, Lisa? Were you excited?
I'm disappointed at you two for not texting me and telling me that first week of football is sloppy. They're rusty. They're still fine. Listen, I hit the overreacting button 5,000 times. And you got to understand, I was at work when the Dolphin game started. And of course, it was a national game here. So they had it on at our work. So I go into the break room, and everybody knows that, what I do and stuff like that. So of course they're razzing me because we just looked absolutely god awful the first couple of plays and stuff. I mean, and it was, and so I went into the other room, and so I was getting texts, and they're like, why aren't you watching it? I said, because I am at work and I'm ready to throw things already. And it's like, and I was total overreaction week 1. And then after everything was done, it's like, I know better than this. This is week 1. This is new defensive coordinator, new players, everything. Because we always said it. And I just for some reason zoned out. And because you just
Lisa,
expect so much.
You were the one has preached to me for the last 12 years. You don't know who a team is till week 4 to 6. That's you. That's all you.
It just, for some reason, it just went out the window. I was just expecting so much. I was expecting them to come out, and wow. And then it was funny is watching some of the games. Bills fans were feeling the same thing I was feeling. There were teams that at one time I think I even tweeted you. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone because the Bills were losing at home, the Dolphins were losing at home, and the Patriots were winning. And I'm like, something's wrong.
Sonia, when you did send us that text, Lisa, which did crack me up a lot. Sonia, when you were looking, at this slate of games, you knew there were going to be some that were going to be, and then we knew that some that were going to be really good, and that It was an interesting mix, but opposite of what Lisa, I think some of these games were actually really pretty good.
I thought so too. I thought the one that I was really excited about was the Indianapolis game, Indianapolis
Yes.
Texans. That was a great game. It I think it was just like I liked it, or just like I thought it was going to be. Back and forth. It was so great to see Anthony Richardson throw that ball so nicely. I
That
was so
throw.
happy for him. So happy for him. But just that was a great game to watch, and
Yeah.
just to that was like, yes, this is what I wanted.
Yep.
Football's back. Let's go, baby.
It was that throw.
That throw.
68 yard.
That
as
throw.
he's falling down. I was like, holy crap. That was, Lisa, beautiful.
It was, and I went straight to deja vu because that happened. I saw that happen live with Michael Vick. That was a very similar play that they did and at that time it was Joe Robbie Stadium, where he was literally falling to the ground and just launched a beautiful dime pass. That, what they say, 62, 60 something yards, just on. I mean,
10 times. And I don't like quarterbacks. And that throw, even I was like, holy crap.
And then how many analysts had that so wrong? They had that the Colts were going to struggle. He was going to come back and struggle. They gave Texans all they could handle.
Yes, they could. Yes, they did.
They did. And it was good, I think, for two reasons in that matchup. One, we all have very high expectations for the Texans this year, right? Like everyone does. CJ Stroud didn't act like a rookie last year, and we expected him to just leap huge this year. So that was good to kind of remind us that they are a mortal team, right? And then Indianapolis, that fan base was so ready for Richardson last year. And then when he got hurt, I think that they were just like, thank God this worked out, And so I just think it was that game was so fun to watch. I watched the whole thing. I flipped around a little bit to watch some of the other games so I wouldn't have to go back and watch as many, but that game had me riveted at that point. It was fantastic. And it was so funny. You were like, I think on Twitter, Lisa, you sent me, you're like, what about that, Dana? And I'm like, I love this kid. And because I was very lucky enough to interview him at the draft with the year he was drafted, and he was just a cool cat. And he was so good with the kids at the Play 60 thing. And he was just such a neat kid. I was heartbroken for him last year. So it's so nice to see him come in and just perform at that level. Now, did he have his moments? Of course. It's week one. But it was so much fun. The other game that was a heck of a lot of fun, at least for me, was the Lions-Rams game, I'm sure.
It was a great game.
That stadium was rocking.
Yes, that stadium was electric. I was so happy for them. That was such a good game. And again, that just was a big culture shift kind of game, because in the past, the Lions have gotten to overtime and just, kind of performed like the Rams did. But the Rams, I mean, overall, they gave them a good fight. Matthew Stafford was Matthew Stafford. But yeah, it was a great game. That was a really good game. Yes, Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa.
I fell asleep. Okay. I did. They went to overtime. I was fine. A commercial came on. I said, I'm just going to close my eyes because they still got to do the coin flip and stuff like that. I was sick when I woke up because I had to, thank goodness I could rewind it. And I rewound it. Was that not classic Dan Campbell, though? He ran that ball down their throat during that overtime. I was like, wow. I was just like sitting there. I was so mad I didn't watch that live because it was just watching them literally. I mean, that's old-time football right there. That's smash mouth in the trenches. We're coming at you. It was awesome. That game was awesome.
Yeah, Kristen says in chat, Lions versus Rams game was the best game of week one. It was right there, man. It was so good. It was fun game. It was everything it was billed to be. And the funny thing is, everyone was so focused on the Chiefs and the Ravens and how that was such a big deal. Well, this game was a rematch of the playoffs last year. And so I think that there was just a lot of tension there. I get a little confused, Sonia. I'm not really sure where Lions fans sit with Matthew Stafford. You heard the boos, but you heard the cheers. I don't think that fan base really knows what to do with him.
I think in the end, deep down inside, everybody tips their hat to him because he did give his all for 12 years and he worked hard. And, I think he really wanted to win in Detroit. And then for us to see him in LA and just go out that first year and get a Super Bowl.
Heartbreaking.
I mean, it was heartbreaking. People were still happy for him, though, because he deserved it, right? But I think they also just want people to know that, yeah, that was the past. We're still happy for him. But Jared Goff is our guy. Jared Goff is the one that got us playoff wins. Jared Goff took us a longer way than Stafford did. So we respect him. We love Matthew Stafford, but we really love us some Jared Goff.
Well, and I think the best part of that storyline is they just swapped. They just switched teams. And so both have done what they needed to do. What they couldn't do with their other teams, they've done with these new teams. And I think that that's just a really interesting thing. I know you're not a big Goff fan, Lisa, but honest to God, he has brought a lot of joy to that city. You can't argue that.
I think so. But, I think it's the surrounding cast. I mean, to me, he's a Brock Purdy. He does things that he has to do. But there were throws in there that he missed towards the end of that game.
Week 1.
I know, but there were, so I mean, to go, he's me to me. He's average. He's
I think he's definitely above average, but
agreed.
He's not the one carrying the team on his back. I will agree with you there. It's a full cast of characters, which it should be, right? Because I look at some of these teams, if their honest to God, Kansas City, if that quarterback goes down, the rest of the team isn't going to carry them. That defense might for a minute. They look good on Thursday. But you know what I mean? It's not a singular player. And that's really what you want. I think that that's important. So Kristen has a question for us in chat. She says, who was the MVP of that game? I would say Dan Campbell, to be quite honest with you. He put together an amazing plan for that.
Who's the running back? The running back. Who's the running back?
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Fantasy football.
Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah.
I mean, he was carrying guys. He's carrying
I would also venture to say James.
What a fun story that is. Oh my gosh.
He did so good. I mean, honestly, I would say just for the year that he had last year, I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah.
But everybody was great.
He completely endeared himself to my heart when he walked out for the interview. He's like, I've never done this before. And he's got the game ball in his hand. I was like, oh, I love you. You're now one of my favorites.
Yes, he's so great. Cute.
Yeah. Sue in chat also said it's the same with Buffalo if Josh Allen goes down. Exactly. So that's what I mean. It's more of, there is a group team effort there. So good. Looking at a couple of the other games that were around, a little surprising, that Cowboys-Browns game. The Cowboys at 33, Browns 7. Kate is on vacation. She's in the Caribbean. She doesn't care about week 1. She's moving on from that. But I will tell you this. I find it fascinating with the talent the Browns have. They still can't put it together. And Lisa, why can't they do that?
I'll tell you one thing. They stymied Myles Garrett. Exactly. They shut him out of that game. Yep. And to me, that was the difference. I was watching the highlights of that game, and the game plan itself to me was to take him out of the game. And they did. They had a lot of people on that side. They took him right out of every single play. I think Dak was happy, like you said. I think he had a little chip on his shoulder to prove. Deshaun Watson looked like he was just awful, dazed and confused and
disaster,
horrible. So they've got some work to do with him. And I quite frankly, I heard it all after the game. I'm sure you guys did too. That this is probably going to go down as one of the biggest flop draft trades ever, and where it looked like Texans just pretty much robbed them.
And it sucks because the Browns fan base doesn't deserve that. They didn't want him there. The majority of the fan base was not all about that trade. They didn't know he hadn't played in so long. There's all the off-field crap that's now still going on again. That fan base was like, or at least the ones that I follow, and that from what Kate has said, they were like, no, don't do this to us. Let's just start again. They had so many other great pieces. And it just, all that money. Oh my God.
Yeah, they were talking about it a lot. So
yeah. So Darcy, our friend Darcy, hey Darcy, how's it going? He says Brown's just praying for the opportunity to get out of that horrible Watson contract. I don't know that they can. I saw a huge conversation about that.
I did too. Me too.
I think they're stuck for a minute unless they're like, we're going to eat it and move on. But cap wise, hammered. They'd have to start completely over. What a mess. But the Cowboys, now talking about overreactions, I was like, maybe I need to rethink who's going to win that division from my pickup.
Week 1.
Cowboys coming in third.
It's week 1.
They looked good though. I thought that they looked pretty good.
Well, and when you take that away, Dana, I think when you looked at week 1, like you said, I had my little moment of mental breakdown on there, but it still seems that the teams are following along the lines of last year. It seems we still have the Chiefs, Ravens, 49ers, Lions that seem like they came out and continued to roll. Seemed like we still had the Bills, the Dolphins, still kind of trying to find it. It's crazy. And then you have the Giants and the Panthers who look like they're going to be vying for the number 1 pick again. So it's like, what did we learn about week 1? And I take that Colts game.
Yeah, it's so good. All right, so let's look at the rest of these. So obviously the Chiefs beat the Ravens 27-20. That was actually a pretty good game. I think it was closer than that scoreline even kind of looks like. The Packers and the Eagles looking good. There were some questionable in the first half on that game too. And then heartbreak. Jordan Love gets injured with 6 seconds left in that game. Now, it looks like that they don't expect it to be a long-term injury. They're not putting him on IR. They're just going to kind of watch him, which is very good for my fantasy team. But I think that it will it's going to put a little damper on where that team thought they were going, because they are going to now start Malik Willis, which I think is it's an interesting choice. I'm like, I want to come, like, Ryan Tannehill's out there, right? Go pick him up. But I think because it's just a couple weeks, they're just going to suck up that injury and kind of move on from that a little bit. Then we have the Panthers and the Saints and the Vikings and the Giants. Those games, they were almost unwatchable.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean,
literally.
I don't know what they're going to do. I'm so surprised that the Giants are sticking with Danny Dimes.
I don't think they have a choice.
They don't have a choice. And oh man. And then I know that they were just watching Saquon score those 3 touchdowns in Brazil. I mean, they were sick, I'm sure. Right? But those 2 teams are going to need a lot of good vibes and all the good wishes, but I don't see it for them this. It's just they're not going to be fun teams this year.
I agree completely. And I was like, the Panthers actually scored more than the Giants did. And the interesting thing is, I think Saquon Barkley is a perfect example. He went from a team that was a disaster with a horrible O-line, who he couldn't get anything going. He goes to a team that just has a better offensive line, and boom, look what he does. And so it's fascinating to me that even over all those years he was in New York, they couldn't ever figure that out for him. And but you know what? I'm glad that he's somewhere else. I'm glad that he has another chance. I'm glad that he will be able to do something. And obviously it looks like they're going to use him quite regularly in Philadelphia for sure. Obviously, let's see. I think that's going to be really interesting. But 34-29, the Packers beat the Saints. Well, they looked like superstars against the Packers. The Panthers. I don't know that I trust that's what we'll see out of the Saints for the rest of the season. But again, at the same time, you should beat bad teams that badly. I mean, if you're going to be a good football team, you need to win those type of games big, and they did. The Vikings, I will tell you, Sam Darnold, God love you. You looked great. Now, we call Sam Darnold the Seahawks. He's the thorn in the side of the Seahawks, because he always managed to beat the Seahawks. We don't know why, but he always did. But he looks like a very good replacement for JJ McCarthy, maybe even better than JJ would have been this year, because we, of course, don't know, right? That was really interesting. And then they went, of course, against the Giants, 28-6 that game. So let's talk for just a minute about the Patriots and the Bengals. I was shocked. I don't know how else to put it. Shocked. when I saw the scoreline of that game, I had to immediately switch over and watch what was going on. I don't know from either one of you if this is just first week, Joe Burrow is back, got to get back in the groove, or if we have completely underestimated the Gerard Mayo New England Patriots. I don't know. Yeah.
I think I feel more that this is more indicative of not or more of an indictment, I would say, on the Bengals. I think they're just getting it together.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I mean, it could be the Patriots are just playing loose. They've got really not that much expectations on them. So maybe they're just playing loose and having a great time. But yeah, I think more of an indictment on the Bengals because they should have beaten them this game.
Lisa, they did not look ready at all.
Right.
No. And I think the Jamar Chase thing, I think there's some internal issues going on with that team. I think things are kind of getting a little bit blown out. I'm going with the week 1 thing. Let's give them to game 4 or 5 and revisit this issue and see where we are at that point.
Yeah. Sue says it could be a combo of both. And I think that's probably what it is, but gosh, what is it? Rhamondre Stevenson. Thank you very much for those points, sir. That's what I'm going to say about that. So that was very good. All right. So obviously the Patriots beat the Bengals 16-10. It's not like it was a blowout. It's not like it was some huge score, but it was interesting. There was a lot of struggle scoring points for a lot of teams this week, including the Steelers and the Falcons. I love this. And this happened in the Bears game. This happened in the Steelers game. Those fan bases are like, Justin Fields, forget Russell Wilson. Justin Fields won the game. Justin Fields. He didn't score a touchdown. Just so you know, that was not a great. This is how nice someone was. He had some positive plays. Good. That's what he's supposed to do. He's a runner. He can do that, right? I think that was a great conversation about defense these couple of games. So they played the Falcons. Steelers played the Falcons. They won 18-10. To me, this game was a bigger deal for the Falcons. Kirk Cousins did not look good in this game, right? And then you have the fact that then the backup quarterback came in and beat you. And they were in Atlanta. I mean, I do think that it's going to, with Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts finally, got some play. So that's good, but I think that's going to take some time. I think Kirk Cousins will settle in there. I think they'll get better. So don't panic yet, Falcons fans. Steelers fans, I know you're excited about Justin Fields, but the minute Russell Wilson can come back, I think that you need to let him start. That is a whole conversation for sure. Steelers won 18-10. Yep. And then we already talked about the Colts. Did you want to say something, Lisa? Sorry.
No, I'm listening.
Oh, okay.
I'm listening.
Cool. Texans and Colts we already talked about. Cardinals and the Bills. This was the other Miami game, right? It was. What the hell is going on? Like, honestly,
sloppy.
It was so sloppy, and the Bills just looked a mess. And I was like confirming my priors of, oh, yep, their window's shut, they're done. And then Josh Allen came in and was like, I'm not losing to the damn Cardinals. Just
right.
That game.
It's like both teams woke up in the fourth quarter like, oh, well, wait,
hang on a second.
I'm not going to lose to Kyler Murray.
Both games had, basically momentum changing plays, because basically the Dolphins part, the Jaguars were going to score and they punched the ball out. And they got the Bills got a late 3-and-out, which you could just see the momentum kind of shift. It's kind of like you said, a light bulb went off like, oh, wait, we're supposed to play football today.
Right.
So
good. Yeah. Darcy has a good point. Marvin Harrison Jr. was still wide open. Yeah. People are going to have to figure that out real quick, I think, for sure. Kristen said it was pretty boring. I couldn't finish it. She's not talking about the Bills game. She was talking about the Steelers-Falcons game, I believe. That's at least when it popped up there. And then Sue does say in chat, she's like, there was no defense in the first half, same as the Dolphins. Sue is a Bills fan. So, yeah, that makes sense for sure. I forgot to say this earlier. If you guys are watching on Facebook or Twitter, come over to YouTube, join the chat. We want to hear what you have to say. We'd like to hear it. Believe it or not, we really do. All right. So that was an interesting one. I do think, though, the Cardinals did show some sign of being better than they have been in the past. I think that there was a little more cohesive game plan there. I think that they, as the season will go on, as long as the injury bug doesn't get them, will be a better team. And so that's got to be encouraging for their fan base, I would think. Look, Michelle says, I'm here. Hi, Michelle.
Of course you are.
We already talked
about one. Of course you're
Michelle, we already talked about your Cowboys, and I said I was going to have to revamp my opinion of them. All right. So then I want to talk about the Titans and the Bears game. We're going to talk about the rookie quarterbacks here in a minute. So I don't want to get too much into this one, but I will say this. The Bears beat the Titans 24-17. And if I saw one more time, Caleb Williams wins his first game, I was going to throw something because Caleb Williams had nothing to do with that win. 2 defensive time. That defense. Oh, Lisa. I was so happy. Sonia.
Yeah, he
go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. No, I was just going off of the defense. I mean, it's like you said, I was reading up, and then like I said, I did the highlights and I was watching it afterwards and stuff like that. And like I said, we'll talk about him in a little bit, but yeah he is not what he was expecting.
No, it wasn't. But oh my God, if I was the Bears fan base, Sonia, I would be over the moon. Not because we won the first game, because my defense looked that damn good. It was so fun to watch.
I hope the strength and conditioning coach has these boys going, because that defense is going to have to put in a lot of work this year.
Yeah, it's true.
They're going to have to. I mean, but yeah, their defense looked good. Their defense was great. Special teams played a role in there as well.
Oh, for sure.
Good, right? So good things. But that offense just has to get it together, and I hope they can. And I hope Caleb is realizing what he has to do. But yeah, it's
we can hope. Then Michelle says that Caleb, he struggled most of the day, but Levis was just as bad.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I will say this about the Titans. I didn't have a lot of expectations for the Titans this year, but that defense looked good. And I was impressed with that. I think if they could put together a little bit more on offense, then they would have been a more complete team, obviously. I mean, but I was impressed with some of the stuff I saw from them, keeping in mind it was week 1, keeping in mind it's going to take some time. But the Titans, I was a little surprised because I didn't expect anything from them this year. So that must have been encouraging, I think, for I hope their fan base. We have Tony says, hi ladies. Hi Tony. How are ya? All right. So then, but we're going to talk about these rookie quarterbacks here in a second. We already talked about the Jaguars and the Dolphins. Oh, we didn't mention the Jaguars. They looked like it was week 1. Well, not in the first half. The first half,
the first half
fell apart at that point.
They look like world beaters.
Right. Speaking of a tale of 2 completely different halves, the Seahawks Broncos game. Lisa, I was with you. I was sitting there live tweeting that game.
Let me tell you something.
And I was just, let me finish. I was like, this is what you guys were so excited about. You were so excited for this new coaching staff. You were
Michelle.
So excited, right? It was like, they were just like, everyone is like, oh, new regime. It's going to be amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I sat there and I was so angry. And then I was like, no, week 1. 3 new coaches. Wait, calm down, Dana, calm down. And then something Seahawks fans are not used to. There were halftime adjustments. Now, I love me some Pete Carroll, you know that, but he's not a big fan of halftime adjustments. He likes to stick with the plan. Those adjustments came out. Seattle just took over. That defense, so good. Charles Cross on our offensive line was ranked number 1 by PFF this week. I mean, it was just, that second half gave me all the joy. It was so good. We're going to talk about Bo Nix here in a minute. But I don't know how excited Denver fans should be right now, for sure. Yeah, exactly. So Michelle says the Broncos look just like they did last year. Seattle defense looked pretty good. Pretty good, baby. Compared to last year, it was miraculous. Actually, Kristen says she watched the first half. The Hawks, she was sick to her stomach. It was deja vu. Thank goodness for the switch. It's so true. It's so, so true. So we have a new one. Back It Up Binge podcast just came across your channel and got us up to support. Thank you so very much. Go Fins.
Thank you.
I know. So fun. All right.
So,
what? I know. Michelle cracks me up. This Bo don't. This is why we love her. This Bo don't know. And for all you young people, you're not going to know that reference, but it's Bo Jackson. Look it up. All right. So anyway, that one was an interesting game. Very, very happy the way that one turned out. Raiders and Chargers. I don't think anyone was too surprised by that. We were expecting some good stuff out of Jim Harbaugh, and we got some good stuff. We
got some good fights, baby. Got some good Raider fights.
You know, Lisa and I love Raiders.
God, I love the Raiders. I love the Raiders. I love when the Raiders. I'm going to that game actually. I'm covering that game actually.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I just love the Raiders fans. I just love Raider football. I mean, they just it's like at a different level when they come into town, you know.
It is. And those fans are off the hook for sure. But I will say that what I saw from both those teams, I expected. I expected there to be problems. I didn't expect the fight, but I expected Harbaugh to be able to adjust. Justin Herbert looked okay. That was kind of a typical week 1 game, I guess you could say, in my opinion. Let me see. Where am I? Commanders and Bucks. I expected more Commanders. I expected more.
I think what happened.
Daniels
was exactly
didn't look terrible. We're going to talk about him too, but
he
didn't look terrible. But
no, but I mean,
yeah, I know. I expected more too. I would love to know if Darcy's still in the chat, because Darcy, I want to know if you were encouraged by what you saw, if it was frustrating. I will say this though: you guys know how much I love Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner plays for the Commanders. I think Bobby Wagner might have stayed 1 hour too late at the party, because he looked like a first weeker, and that is not how he looks. But I have a feeling that he'll snap out of it because he's Bobby Wagner and he's a god. So, all right. So then I love him so much. Then we were talking about the Rams and the Lions. So I'm sorry, the Buccaneers won 37-20. That was a tough one for the Commanders. But then this game was such a win-win for me last night between the Jets and the 49ers, right? I couldn't have been mad either way. Because why? Because 49ers are my rival and Aaron Rodgers. And I will say this. As much as I wanted the 49ers to lose, so Seattle would be the only NFC West team that won, and that would have been amazing. I was so happy to see Aaron Rodgers struggle. And I don't want Jets fans to be mad at us for this. It's not about your team. I love your team. I love Wilson. I love Breece Hall. Fantastic. That line looked better. The defense looked good. But there needed to be a moment where Aaron Rodgers realized he was not going to be the savior of the team, that he was not going to be the one that was going to bring it all together. And when you play a team like the 49ers, who looked like a Super Bowl level team last night, you're going to have to bring more than just Aaron Rodgers out to play this game. Sonia, what did you think of this game?
So overall, I just felt that Aaron looked old, like he showed his age there, right? I think so. I was glad he made it through the game. I really was. So I was like, can we make it through the first series? Yes. Okay, good. But he looked old. The Niners, I think they look like they can't be beat right now, and that's great. But I think, it is week 1. Things can change. I think Robert's Saleh's seat's getting just warm, a little warm. But overall, I think the Niners did look pretty good.
Oh God, that defense just makes me so jealous and nauseous. No, you know how much I love defense, and I my Seahawks soul hates the 49ers, but God, I love the way that defense plays. It's just so fun to watch. And Brock Purdy looked pretty good. He looked a little less like a deer in the headlights, because I've always thought he looks a little startled all the time. Like, where'd that come from?
He still has those throws though that overthrows and stuff. He still can make those mistakes, and that's for sure. But like I said, they had a whole game. But I agree with you on Rodgers. But the Jets, when you look at the Jets, and when you look at the last couple of games that Rodgers was healthy, which was over a year ago, he basically is averaging 1 touchdown a game.
Really?
And and that's what they were talking about this morning. And it's like, that's just not going to do it. And when you wonder how he is today, feeling, he's got hit a couple times. He tried. I mean, he had a couple nice throws to Garrett Wilson that they seemed like they had a little bit of a rhythm going at some time. But the Jets have 3 games in 9 days.
Oh,
so
that's a lot.
That's
because they play Thursday, right? They play you guys on Thursday. Yeah.
No, they don't
Oh,
play
it's
us.
not
We
you.
play the Bills. No, we play the Bills.
Oh.
But they were talking about they've got a 3-game stretch within 9 days.
Oh.
So
Okay.
Yikes.
Oh, because they started on Monday. Yes, you're right. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think that was a little bit of a reality check. Again, week 1, and it is Aaron Rodgers, and we expect him to make, adjustments as needed. But it wasn't just him. There was a lot of things that seemed off. So I'm hoping and I'm hoping for Robert Saleh, because I think that poor guy has gotten the short end of the stick between all these quarterbacks coming through. And then, he's never seemed to have a whole season of his team, right? So I hope that they give him through the season. So it'll be interesting. We have a whole bunch of comments that I wanted to. So Sue is like, Baker had a great game. He did. Baker looked happy. He looked settled. It was a good game. Darcy says, I'm so glad you're still here, Darcy. Jaden looked all right. And I think he said from here it says, he looked all right from what I've seen. The biggest concern is the defense looked exactly the same as last year on week 1. And that's about the Commanders. Michelle loves herself some Aaron Rodgers, but he did not play well. No, he did not. So it's kind of interesting. So then Tony agreed that Roger was showing his age for sure. It's interesting. Darcy, this is a great point, Darcy. So glad I didn't have the opportunity in any league to get screwed by picking CMC. So I'm in 3 leagues. I won all 3 of them, but I have CMC in one of them. And I was just livid after I found out that the cute little backup that it did so well yesterday. Now everyone's going to want on a waiver wire. Mason is his last name. He knew Friday. Well. He knew Friday he was starting. Oh, the league is going to get him. The league is going to, that 49ers, they will be fine. I can guarantee it, because they had him as, questionable or whatever. So we'll see. But he knew he was not going to play on Friday. So that is interesting. So I was a little irritated about that, but I still won by 3 points. So I'm all right. So, and then it let us know Jets are the Thursday nighter week 3 against the Pats. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So it's very,
that's the
3 games.
Yep.
Tough.
So yeah. And then we have Tony's like, I was so happy to see Roger struggle after all the hype. Kristen's like, he totally looked old and tired. So it's interesting, not everyone can play to 40.
And that's okay.
And so maybe that's just it. And maybe we'll see. But I do think that he's been off for a year, so he might need to get kind of back in the rhythm of that again.
I mean, he had some throws. I mean, he had some laser
he looked
throws.
Like Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, for sure.
Some of those throws. I mean, he, like I said, I was like a little, like I said, him and Wilson that did little Garrett. We'll see. We'll see. What I think they'll like get there. This is like you said. You got 3 games in 9 days. So let's see how his body holds up.
Right. That's a really good point. Really good point. Now let's talk about these rookie quarterbacks a little bit. I know we're over, guys, but it's week 1. I wanted to touch on all the games this week. We won't touch on all games every single week. We'll probably pick 4 or 5, but this is the first week I wanted to kind of get them all in. So, the rookie quarterback. So there was a lot of hype, obviously, surrounding Caleb Williams. There was a lot of hype surrounding Jaden Daniels. There was whole conversations of who was going to play better compared to their competition and that sort of thing. And then you have Bo Nix thrown in there, who was going to be the savior of Denver. There was one tweet. God love these Denver fans. You're just in it to win it. And they're like, Pat Mahomes, who? Bo Nix is here to take his crown. And I giggled a little bit because.
Who said that? What?
Oh, I'll go find it and send it to you. So anyway, here's the thing. It was week 1. Rookies don't do well week 1, notoriously, right? But there just seemed to be, for some of these fan bases, kind of the second coming, this is our savior sort of a thing. And I think they showed that they're rookies, but it wasn't all bad. I don't think it was terrible. Lisa, I know you had some of those stats for us. How did they do?
When you look at them at home, which I was looking at what Darcy said, let me start off with Jaden. Basically, the one thing I didn't like is he seems like he might end up being the leader ball carrier, which you don't ever want your quarterback to be your leading rusher. I think he needs to calm down. All 3 of these quarterbacks looked like the game was a lot faster for them. So when you look at what Daniels did, I mean, they kept it close. He was 17 for 24. He had 184 yards. 88 of that was rushing yards, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
So right there, is that a red flag for you? Is like, okay, here we go. Another guy that's just going to start taking off. So, but he's a hell of an athlete. He's a rookie. It's week 1. Like I always said with these rookies, next week, you just want to see improvement. That's what you want to see. You want to see him improve on those stats. You want to see him try to kind of, trust his line a little bit better, get the rapport with the receivers, tight ends, running backs. I mean, that's what you're striving for here. You're not expecting Super Bowl miracles right now. You just want the kid to improve. So I thought he had a pretty complete game as far as like what they kind of expected him to do. Like I said, he showed his athleticism. You just don't want your quarterback to be leading in your rushing at the end of the year. So let's hope they recognize that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, Dan Quinn, how he does will fix that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you just want to see improvement every single game.
Yeah.
And that's what I have on him.
Interesting. It was today on Sirius XM NFL Radio, which I listened to religiously in my car. They were talking about how Gil Brandt, the late great Gil Brandt, said, you never know who a quarterback is until he's started 20 games. And I think that's so true. So until you get into that second year and see how they mature. So to your point, Lisa, you just want to see improvement every single week. It might be small, might be in one area and not another, but you want to see improvement.
You want to see improvement. But when you look at those it factors, okay, you have to turn around. You have to look. Let's get into game 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going 10 games. I disagree with Gil. I think 10 games because look at CJ Stroud. By game 6, I knew he had that it factor.
I understand it factor, but I think like durability, game plan, that sort of thing, who they kind of are. I get that a little bit, but yeah. What about Caleb? Because it's a long time.
Now, you were funny with Caleb. Tell me about the ducks that you saw. I mean, it was kind of funny. You're just like, okay, these passes are wobbly. Why are they wobbly?
They were. I'm like, that wasn't tipped. I was yelling. I'm in my living room by myself yelling at the TV. I'm like, that wasn't even tipped. What was that? It was wobbling all over the place.
They were wobbly. I'll tell you exactly why they were wobbly. They were talking about it this morning. I'll tell you exactly why. He went 14 for 29, 93 yards. He had 15 yards rushing. What Caleb's issue was, that game was so fast, he was having trouble where he was going with the ball. So he wasn't getting his body, his hips, or anything set enough to know where, because he was just trying to read the defense and know where to go with the ball. So they were saying, when you look at his hips, you look at the way he just wasn't getting set. He was a little anxious, little nervous, which is expected. Once again, you're going through the same thing with him. He was a little bit more hyped than what he showed. I mean, everybody expected him to come in and lights out. He showed exactly what a rookie is going to show. Preseason doesn't mean shit. And I think that he took that for a little granted, that this is easy, because, they're not slamming you to the ground. They're not putting full game plans in for you. You got a full game plan, bro.
Yeah.
You got a full game plan. You were like trying to progress through reads so fast that his head was probably just going like this.
Spinning.
But it's the same. Yeah, because, spicy preseason, he's all excited. This is pretty simple. I got this. He was laughing, joking. He was not laughing on the sidelines of this game. He ain't looking at that. You better start looking at some tape, bro, because they're coming at you.
And they're coming next week with the Houston Texans.
They're coming next week.
Real fast.
But, you have a defense to support you. So, if you can try to, extend some offensive plays to give them a little break, the Bears might be in some of these games. But once again, you're just going to look for him to settle in, go through your progressions a little bit better, and the ball will come out a little bit crisper and cleaner.
Right.
Cleaner. Yep.
A little cleaner for sure. I know. Our good friend Wanda, who is a diehard Bears fan, she wrote about the Bears for us for years, and we love Wanda. And even she was like, "Okay, I'll take the win any way I can get it. Just calm down." I was like, "Yeah, they just need to calm down a little bit." So true. And then we had Bo doesn't know, Bo Nix. He struggled. Now I will tell you, that Seahawks defense came to play in that second half. So I'm going to give him, much like the Titans defense was all over Caleb Williams. But talk about a deer in headlights, Lisa. Holy cow. He
threw the ball a ton. He threw the ball.
He was
20, I know, 26 of 42. Mm-hmm. He had 128 yards, 2 interceptions, 35 yards, and he had 1 rushing touchdown. And when you look at the results, what was this? It was only 26-20. Am I right there?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They got 2 safeties.
I know. Everybody kept talking about that. That was another guy. That's another guy that had a sharp preseason. Another guy that didn't see a ton of game footage, but he's also a mature guy. So
yeah, he is.
I think that the Bronco fans were expecting him to be a little bit more settled in, a little bit, better than what he was. He's another one. Who do they have? Do we know who they have next by any chance?
Oh, I can look. Hold on.
Yeah, because I'd be interested to see who they play. Because they got to get these quarterbacks in Denver a running back. I mean,
Steelers.
It's not going to get any easier for you, buddy.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah, he's going to need some help. He's going to still need some talent around him. So
that team isn't ready.
Yeah, once again, you just let Sean take him under his wing and try just to nurse him through and just let him learn as we progress and get better and better. But man, he threw the ball a ton.
He did. So Sue says some rookie quarterbacks don't do well their first year, and I think there's too high of expectations. And Sonia, that is it for me. I think that because of
CJ Stroud.
Well, yeah, but there wasn't the hype for him. It was for Bryce Young, and that's the interesting thing for me is that with the combine, Sonia, and then the draft and the fact that football never ends. I think that these kids get built up and built up and built up that sometimes they get pushed right off the cliff. Like, I think it would be better. There's no way to stop it, right? Fan bases just get excited. But at the same time, I just don't think that pressure is fair to them, but you're a pro. So how do you balance that?
You're a pro, but you're learning. And I think, honestly, and I've thought this for a long time, is that I know fans are excited and I know people want their franchises to turn around like that. But you got to be patient. You have to be patient and you have to let them grow and you have to let them develop. Now, there are the CJ Strouds of the world who just come in there and ready to go. But that's kind of a flash or that's like, once in a while. You're going to get people like Caleb. You're going to get people like Bo who have a lot of good upside, but they just need the reps. They just need the practice. And I think as soon as they get that and start, like you said, the 10 to 20 games, I think that's what they need just to kind of see. And you just want to see them get better game by game. That's all you can ask.
Yeah. So Kristen said in comments, CJ didn't win his first game, but they played the Ravens. So it's no surprise there. I do think that that's interesting that the league often hands those rookie quarterbacks a serious team to play, right? Because then if they win, they're like, oh my God, they beat X, Y, and Z team. You know what I mean? But
we saw it. But we saw it with CJ, though. We saw it every single game, him get better and better.
Yeah, he did. That whole team got better and better. Darcy says that poor Bo Nix, the Steelers, then the Bucks, then the Jets. All right. Trial by fire. That's what that is. All right, you guys, we have gone way over, and I'm sorry, but it's exciting the first week. But again, as we remember, everything is shiny on paper, right? Until those injuries start kicking in, and some of them are awful. And then 4 to 6 weeks. Don't be mad at your team for 4 to 6 weeks. After 4 weeks, feel free to be mad or be joyed, one or the other. So that's the way it is. All right. So again, next week, we'll be back again next Tuesday. And again, we won't be talking about every single game every week. We're just going to pick out a handful, probably the best ones, the more impressive ones or what have you. But if you guys have a particular team, game that you want us to talk about, send it to us on Twitter. We'll be happy to cover that for you as long as you come over and chat with us on the YouTube channel. Also, you guys were great when it came to our poll last week. Remember that we put out
They weren't great. They were all Seahawk fans is what they were.
Hey, I've got a strong retweet game. I'm telling you. So here's the thing. The Seahawks and the Broncos will not be in the poll for next week. We will always be rotating those teams. But we have 2 polls a week. So we have one for the game that you want us to live tweet on Sunday. And then we have a second poll comes out the next day, which is what college game? Don't forget, Our Turf now has a college podcast. It is on every Wednesday night right here, same YouTube. Just got to click like and subscribe, and you will get notifications for this one too. Make sure you hit the little bell. You'll get notifications for both shows, and vote on that one to see which game you guys want them to break down. And by them, I mean that cute little Sonia that's right there, our good friend Michelle, who's in the comments right now, and Kate, but not this week, Kate, because Kate's on vacation. So Lisa, are you coming on?
No, they got our friend Wanda.
Wanda awesome. So Wanda, I mentioned before.
Yeah.
So if you like college ball, make sure that you check out the Our Turf Football Podcast College Edition on every Wednesday night. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much. We will see you again next Tuesday. Good night.